And open simply means you can't answer a yes or no to it. So do you have Microsoft 8.9? I don't know. I don't know my technology, obviously. I'm not technologically competent. But anyway, where was I going with that?
Open-ended questions.
Do you have it? Can you use it? Yep. Well, why waste your time asking that question, right? You want to prove. When using Microsoft 8.9, do you find that the data applications are peripheral to the, I don't know what you want to ask, but once again, you're testing for competence in that particular area, if that's really important to you. Sorry, I'm starting to point. I'm getting excited. Okay, so you get a sense of those two kinds of questions. Once again, based totally on the core competencies of the job. If it's not important, don't ask. Okay, so let's assume you've asked all those questions. You've used a ranking form. I'll show you a typical interview ranking form if you don't already have one. I personally like a team approach to hiring because my opinion may be prejudice. So I would be giving a form to everyone who's on my team that's hiring, and I would purposely pick people with very different perspectives. I would have the person's name up here, the job that they're being interviewed for, and a ranking that describes a numerical ranking from not at all suitable to the job.
Sort of like a screening grid?
Yes. Only in this case it's ranking. So that if you're seeing 10 people, you can actually put them in the order of rank, which helps you from an HR perspective if anyone ever questions. And I have another hint on that one in a second. So not at all suitable, all the way to spectacular. I don't know what you want to call your heading, it's up to you. Okay? And of course we know in Canada you always have to have an even number of rank because we're all so nice, we always choose the center one. So you have to make people make a decision, this side or this side. Were they really on the spectacular side or the not so great side? Alrighty? And then you need to, as a group, determine the questions. And then secret to the group, the hiring group, is which competency that's actually testing for. This one I would use for the rank, which once again brings in the fact that we really need to sit down with this hiring team and decide what each of those mean and come to a common agreement about that. And then they rank it. It's 1, 6, 5 in that area. And notes at the end. Really liked your answer, but couldn't make eye contact. Whatever you need to put in there. Then as a group, you can look back and you can look at the ranking. Does the number 1 ranked person always get the job? Not necessarily. Because gut feel still plays an incredibly important part of this system. My final question, I'll get to you in 1 second. My final question is overall fit for the job. Where people can then go, you know, this is the hiring team going, she seems to really score high, but I just can't see it working here. Maybe it's a cultural issue. Where they're coming from a different culture, and I don't mean ethnic culture, I just mean a business, corporate, perhaps approach. So they may be great at all this stuff, but just you can't see it fitting in with your current staff or something else. So this allows you to put a rank on it, but it still is very much going to that. Did you have a thought?
Somewhere in there we have a list of, well, not necessarily the answers, but
Yes.
a guide.
You're absolutely right. There's a column missing. As a group, we had decided exactly what we wanted to see. Not specific, but we wanted to see evidence of, experience doing. We all agreed that we needed to see certain things in the answer. didn't know what the answer was going to be, but we did want to see certain things in the answer. You're absolutely right, because if you can't agree on what the answer is and how well the person fits to that, then, yes.
I find that in a lot of the job interviews I do, my interviewing team are volunteer board members.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a hard time with ranking. They spend all their time trying to decide between 5 and 6, and they're not really listening to the blend that this person
Yes.
had. So I downplay the ranking side with them and go with their feeling of the answer.
Absolutely. As long as you're basing it on competencies and as a team you're able to agree how you will finally make that decision, go ahead. And it's not just volunteer board members that will feel that way. There's some certain staff or external partners that I've asked to sit in where they just, it's a personality thing. They don't want to appear to be too judgmental, or they're having problems ranking something that they don't always see as something that's solid, that's substantial. It does, but it will serve you well, that kind of process. Yes, it takes more time, but you have a lot more to sort through at the end of the day. Another little hint on the interview process is I do not allow my team to talk to each other between candidates. They will sway each other. We look at it all as a whole at the end of the process.
Do you have like a minimum or maximum number of questions, for example? Because I've been involved in some interviews in recent years, and like, you know, you've got an 8-page or 9-page document. that you're-
Ridiculous.
I remember one that was actually 12. You know, you're kind of going through this, and I'm thinking of the candidate, and it's
Yeah,
like,
exhausting.
I want to say I'm sorry. Because
Just one more, just 14 more questions.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's where you focus on the competency. Your questions are only reflecting the key competencies. So that's why if you only have 4 or 6 key competencies, ask 4 or 6 questions. Don't make it too painful. Just make those questions matter. And we all know in an interview process, you know in the first 15 minutes about fit, which you don't in terms of comfort, personality, the people you currently have working with you, your own culture as an organization. What you don't know is if they have that critical experience, skill, or personal attribute that you know is necessary for that particular job. Okay, makes sense? So yes, keep it short. These do not have to be painful. The process, like any event or any important activity with people, it's the planning piece. It's rehearsing the answers with your team. It's agreeing via email on what the correct answer will be. Okay, now I've got lots more information. If you're interested, you can email me. I'll send you documents and some example forms and questions and all that stuff. Okay, oh, I skipped too far here. How much time do we have?
2 minutes.
What?
I'm kidding.
Oh, 10?
Yeah.
15.
We have to wrap up at 12:50.
I like Peggy Ann. I like your watch. Okay, so the next step, you've finally decided on an individual. You've hired them. You've even looked at their competency level to determine what you're paying them possibly. Has this ever happened to you? Wow. We didn't budget for this person, but their skills in these key areas is so high, I don't want to lose them. We're hiring them. I just hired a person on Friday. I had a budget number in my head. It's a 10-hour project, a week, 10 hours a week. Not a big one, but this woman brings such skills that we need right now, and she's available, and before anyone scooped her, I have to pay her 3 hours more, or $3 more per hour if I want to keep her, and that's okay with me, because her competency is so high. One of the things she is she is a community builder and has strong knowledge of all of the employment programs in the Niagara region. She can call the people we've been trying to get out to come to our table. Share their personal friends. So that is worth $3 extra an hour to me. So that's an important piece of the negotiation around the salary. Is it you may have to be flexible if you want that high degree of competency. Okay, next step, orientation training. You're putting the person in the job. Let's assume the person you hired, you don't always find the person who has all those competencies at the highest level, right? Maybe they're okay in this area, need a bit of improvement in this one, but really high in these other 2 core competencies. So what are you going to do? You're going to provide them training in those areas. Once again, those core competencies connecting all the elements in your HR cycle. That's simple. We don't have to go there at all. So I've hired this individual. I'll tell you right now, the individual I hired last week has all these other great competencies, but one of the things she does not have is technology. We're going to provide that to her. So, the person's in the job, and here comes the ongoing day-to-day stuff. Monitoring performance, enforcing discipline if necessary, seeing a person through a dismissal process. That's another 6 hours of talking about the whole legal aspects to the hiring process. But here is how you can keep an eye on how someone is doing in their work. Are those competencies present? Are you seeing them demonstrated every day? As you're seeing the person in their work, are there other competencies that are coming to your attention? Wow, that never used to be in that job, but things are changing. The job is changing, or the environment is changing. So once again, you're also being able, this is a critical piece, to see where is training needed to improve this individual's competency, but where is it a discipline issue? All the training in the world won't help some people. And my final thought on this particular one, sometimes people's behaviors has nothing to do with competency. They may have physical health issues, mental health issues, family issues. Don't confuse competency with these other things that happen. I'll tell you, I made a big mistake in 2004. I mistook certain behaviors of a staff person as a competency issue. It was not at all. It was not a performance issue. It was not a competency issue. She was severely depressed, and I did not know that. And it was not apparent to me. So be sensitive to that. All the amount of training and discipline was not going to change that. It was a totally different approach we had to take with this individual. Okay? Once again, that's the whole legal and sensitivity piece. People could be going through a tough time at home. It's not about their competencies at all, right? We've seen people, we know people whose performance has fallen off. During our 2004 interesting time at our network, we ended up purchasing the services of an employment lawyer who really helped us deal with that particular issue, and it was worth every cent. That lawyer told us that 95% of the cases that are brought to her as performance issues are either physical or mental health issues. So I just want to flag that for you. Okay, keep going. Finally, the performance review. Just as you use competencies as the basis for your form, for the interview process and the ranking, how much work do you have to do to that form to turn it around to be a performance review? You put the competency over here. You determine who's going to fill out this form. We like to do 360 degrees. We put a numerical ranking. Whoever is completing the performance review puts a numerical ranking with any other notes. Simple. We don't put out 20 competencies. We only put, actually at Literacy Link, what we do is we put the values of our organization and describe those values and say how well does this individual live these values from your perspective. And then we also put the core competencies of the position. I can send you a form of that as well. It's just room for it there. Okay, so the performance review. Here's what I was going to show you a sample, but I don't have it. So I'll send it to you. It looks just like that. Okay? But what we do is we put it online. We put it on a Survey Monkey. And in our organization, we always do 360 degrees. So we will ask between 6 and 10 in our organization, between 6 and 10 people with whom the staff person works closely. In my experience, we've used board members, community partners, other staff, the board, in my example, the board. I gave them a long list of everyone in my world, and they chose certain people to complete the form. All the data goes up into a Survey Monkey. It's confidential. It's anonymous. The report gets wrapped up for you, and you now have your performance review, and you can sit down and answer questions or share that information with your staff. Oh, here we go. I'm giving you a slide here that explains how we rank.